Well, we all know by now that the pandemic has impacted the economy locally and across Canada, and one might assume the housing market would also take a big hit. And in some cases it has. But according to our next guest, the mortgage market in Halifax and in many parts of the Maritimes is as hot as ever. And with more on why that is, and to tell us about changes that just went into effect for home buyers, I'm joined by Senior Mortgage Advisor with Centum Home Lenders Limited. Clinton Wilkins is with us once again this morning, joins us from his home in Halifax via Zoom. Hey, Clinton.
Hi, Alyse. Thanks for having me. I hope you're staying safe.
I am, and I know that's why we aren't having you in studio right now. Otherwise, you would be here with us. So this is the route we're going with for now, but glad you could make some time for us. Let's talk about the housing market. I know you just released an update to your clients saying that the housing market is as hot as ever in this part of the world, in Halifax and in parts of Atlantic Canada. Why is that?
Well, I think part of it is the limited inventory that we're having here in Halifax. The sales are certainly there, but there's a limited amount of inventory on the market. I can tell you ourselves, we have hundreds of people that are pre-approved and they're looking for homes every day, but there's only so much inventory for people to purchase. And consumers are asking me, with COVID, do you think that, the prices are going to go down, or do you think there's going to be more homes for sale, if people lose their jobs or their businesses or, matrimonial breakdown? And I think the issue in Halifax is we're having a big population growth, and there's only so much inventory on the market. Some of the stats around even rentals were down to 1% vacancy. So, if you're looking to buy a home, I think we're in a situation, at least for first-time home buyers, we could be in a buy now or buy never situation. Now, July 1st, CMHC released some update that it could be more challenging for some consumers to buy a home. So I think it's certainly all of these factors together have, impacted the market here in Halifax and the rest of Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit, Clinton. This is interesting. We talked about this when we spoke with you virtually about a month ago. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, known as CMHC, of course, announced last month they were making some changes for those who are looking to buy a home, of course. So who specifically is going to be affected by these changes, and what are these changes that just went into effect on July 1st?
I think it's a scary time for people, no matter what. Everything that's going on with COVID, obviously, lots of people were impacted either financially or otherwise. But CMHC announced some changes that were effective July 1st that they want to see a higher credit score. So their minimum credit score in terms of their beacon requirement is now 680. They also want to have tighter debt servicing ratios. So basically, you have to have a little bit more affordability. And they've removed the option for them to insure borrowed down payment. So that was known as flex down. So if you were borrowing the down payment from a cashback mortgage, from a line of credit or a credit card or a loan, that is no longer available with CMHC. The good news for consumers is there's two other insurers in the Canadian marketplace. There's Genworth and Canada Guarantee. And they both come out and said that they are not going to follow CMHC's changes. So that's good news for consumers. The challenge is that CMHC is the biggest insurer in Canada. It's a Crown corporation. And the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation was known to insure the majority of buyers that were buying in more rural areas. So when you're buying a home outside of Halifax, chances are, if you're putting down less than 20% and you need an insured mortgage, you are getting an insured mortgage from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Now, is it absolutely not possible to buy a home if you have less than a 680 credit score? No. Every single consumer can get approved for a mortgage. We're lending to everyone. The challenge is you may need more than that minimum down payment of 5%. Maybe if we go with one of the other insurers, they'll require a down payment of 10%. Or maybe you're not even able to get an insured mortgage. But there's certainly options out there for people. They may just need a little bit more skin in the game. So we're seeing some consumers that are saying, we'd rather put down 20%, or we're able to get those funds together to avoid that requirement of having an insured mortgage. There's lots of changes. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the takeaway there, Clinton, is start saving. If you're thinking about buying a home, especially outside of Halifax, now's the time to really be thinking about savings.
Well, if you're a prime customer, if you have great credit and there's lots of room in your debt servicing, everyone's going to approve you. It's those more marginal approvals that we're seeing a little bit of a harder challenge. It's even harder, I think, a little bit in Halifax. Even though the other two insurers are not following suit, I think they were a little bit more conservative anyway in terms of that credit matrix. So, download Borrowell, download Credit Karma. These are free apps that are available on the App Exchange that you can monitor your credit with TransUnion and Equifax yourself. I think it's even more important to seek the advice of an unbiased mortgage professional now than it ever has been. One of the big reasons, and I mentioned this before, a lot of bank branches were either closed over COVID or had reduced hours. And, we've really backfilled some of that capacity. And now with these changes of CMHC, there's some bank lenders that's their primary insurer. So even though that maybe one lender can't, do the mortgage for you, there's lots of other options out there. And in our marketplace, there's about 40 different lenders that are lending to consumers. So one product might not be the same, for everyone. And I think that's why it's really so important to seek the advice of an unbiased mortgage professional. Buying a home is the biggest purchase of your life, and the mortgage is the biggest debt. So you really want to make sure you're protected, and you want to make sure that you're really getting that expert advice.
Clinton, thank you so much. It's always great to check in with you, and we will check in again. I'm sure we'll have a whole new sense of how things are looking in the fall, too. We'll be curious to see what happens here locally and beyond. Thanks again. That is Clinton Wilkins, Senior Mortgage Advisor with Centum Home Lenders.